E aí, galera, fãs do Podcatch, Podcast BR, oh yeah, alright. Hoje aqui no episódio a gente tem uma convidada, Melissa, que ela vai contar um pouco conosco como que é o ensino do Ultimate, né? A gente já tinha falado no Instagram para vocês que a gente ia gravar esse episódio sobre como ensinar Ultimate, o que que as pessoas fazem para ensinar Ultimate, quais as possibilidades. Então a gente convidou a Melissa hoje. Então vai ser um episódio em inglês, mas a gente vai fazer alguma tradução, um transcript, vai ficar no site, alguma coisa do tipo, para você poder acessar em português também. Então, para ela não ficar no vácuo aqui escutando um cara falando português e um cara de besta, eu já vou migrar para o inglês e a gente vai começar o programa, beleza? Vou deixar o Maelo fazer aí a primeira pergunta.
Yes, exactly. So we're with Melissa Witmer. She is American. Where are you currently at, Melissa? Sorry.
I'm in the Canary Islands right now.
Okay. So she works with Ultimate Frisbee since 2014, actually before that, right?
Yeah, since 2010.
2010, exactly. I was just remembering that I believe the first ERCA conference was in 2014. Was that it?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to talk to you about specifically some educational processes, things that we can do in the Ultimate community to help people educate themselves, both in physical education, physical activity, things, and other aspects that you already do with your brand. So, but before we get into that, before we dive into those kind of questions, we have to ask you about the things that you have been doing during this pandemic. What are the things that you're doing? What are you feeling? How are things for you right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think, so I've been in the Canary Islands since March, since the pandemic began. I was in Turkey. I was going to be doing a Frisbee clinic, a weekend clinic there, and had to leave early because the borders and things were closing. So I just fled here and decided to wait it out here. Soon I'll have to leave because my visa will be up. But anyway, I think the pandemic, my first instinct was to sort of just like gather our people in the best way that I could. So that's why I started the Social Distance Training Tips Facebook group. I imagine that will probably stay up for a while. The original goal was simply to provide a space for support, whatever that would mean. I felt very strongly from the beginning that things were going to be unpredictable for a while. Like we would not know when the pandemic would be under control, what would happen, everything was up in the air. So I wanted to provide a place to help people sort of, deal with their own feelings about that, and then also stay connected to their community and stay connected to routines, because I think that was going to be important. It was especially important for me in the early days, and stay connected to the things that they enjoy, because this, as we're seeing, is proving to be a long haul situation. It's not something that went away in a few weeks. So I really want to provide Ultimate players the tools they need to stay physically and mentally healthy, and then to figure out, what that means in the context of Frisbee. I think it's very easy to think that, Frisbee or hobbies are not as important when there's lots of serious stuff going on in the world, both politically, environmentally, and then, of course, the pandemic. But, if there's one thing I've learned from my friends who are like even more active in sort of social justice movements, etc., it's that if they can't take care of themselves, then they eventually burn out, and then they can't do the work that they care about most. And so for so many people, Ultimate Frisbee provides a mental escape, provides a sense of community, and provides a physical activity. So it covers a lot of bases when it comes to helping a person take care of themselves holistically. So I think, my stance is Frisbee is important. It is important for us now more than ever, because we are in hard times, and we are going to continue to be in hard times. And what I love about the Frisbee community is that even though we may not be able to have big international tournaments, and most people don't participate in big international tournaments anyway, we do have this global community, and I love the fact that it helps me personally feel more connected and informed to what's going on in other parts of the world that I might not otherwise pay attention to. So, so yeah, in some ways I'm doing what I've always done, like being part of the global community, and then just making it a little bit more specific to these times. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said. Like, Frisbee can help people to bring them together and escape, stress escape, something like that. My team's always trying to, at least they're watching my YouTube videos or podcasts so they can relax because they're trying to get back training, but people are not people are not that willing to go in the field and throw some Frisbee stuff. People are very concerned with the corona in Brazil. But you said right now, like, since I've been playing this global community, how did you come with that? Like, how you started Ultimate Frisbee and how you developed these projects, ideas globally?
So just to make sure I understand the questions, so you want to know how I started playing internationally, or
Just talk about yourself, like, in a general way, and also your projects, like how you come to these projects today, or some projects of the past.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that the idea here is for you to explain a little bit about yourself, because people in Brazil might not actually know who you are. We know that people from around the world know you. You are world famous. You have done so many things in many different places, many different countries. But Brazil, I feel like in Brazil, people don't know you really well. So if you can start a little bit with your ultimate career as a player and how you move towards the educational part and the aspects of it, that would be nice.
It's going to be challenging to keep short, but I will do my best. Okay, so I started playing Ultimate in 1996, so many years ago. Yeah, so I played for quite a while. And for me, I think I spent a few years being more competitive. I've played, I played everything. I mean, I learned to play by picking up at different tournaments. Back in the old days, there was a lot of like, you'd go to tournaments and find a team if you didn't have one, and just very like a lot of informal stuff going on. Pickup was more common maybe than really strict practices. So it was a bit of a different era. And then as I went into grad school, I was on a team that went to college nationals. And then I later went to club nationals in the US with a mixed team. And I'd say as far as like career achievements, I think like the highest level I ever got to was being a practice player on Scandal. I forget what year it was, but they finished 6th at nationals. So I was very close to making that team, but I did not. And I'd say that's as far as like skill success, that would be like the highest level that I was playing at. And so that was good. So I got to play with elite level players and be coached by elite level coaches, which I'm really grateful for, because that's an experience that many people don't really get. And I think that really just showed me, the difference. Like when you're playing at the level below, you don't really know what you're missing. You don't really know how higher level players think about the game, or maybe what strategic information you're missing. There's just something about spending a season practicing at that level that just makes a difference. It's kind of hard to explain. But my goal as I travel around the world and do these Frisbee clinics is to give people a bit of a taste of that, like the level of detail in which elite level players think about the game, the level of detail in which they look at their fundamentals is something that I think you don't really understand from reading a blog post, but you might understand better by participating in a practice session that, say, works on a skill at a new level of detail that maybe people aren't regularly exposed to. So all these things are what I enjoy doing. So I would say in around Yeah, so around 2010, 11, 12, when I was starting my business is also when I was at my most elite level fitness and playing skills. And that was when I was around the age of 32, 33, 34. So that journey was interesting because I was at a much better level of physical ability than I ever was in my 20s. And that's significant because it's not like I was a slacker in my 20s. I was working out at the time. I was, practicing all the time. I was doing the work, but it wasn't until I wanted to sort of make a comeback, if you will, into elite level play that I got really serious, because I was like, I'm going to be competing against all these younger people. The only thing I have on my advantage is knowledge, because I do have a degree in kinesiology, and in some ways I had discipline, and I had time, so I still had time to do the kind of training I wanted to do. So I put all those things together and decided to spend about a year just training as smart and disciplined as I could. And the results that I got were better than I would have imagined. And then that's sort of that was the genesis of the Ultimate Athlete Project, because I realized that I could probably translate some of these results for other people. So the membership started in 2011. And yeah, so I think when I started the business in 2010, it was really vague. I just knew it wanted to be Frisbee related, and I wanted to help players be better players. But I didn't really have an idea of what the end product would be. I just knew that I wanted to give myself a few years to figure it out. And then through my own process of getting in better shape, I found something that I kind of realized, like, this is a thing that I could deliver and hardly anyone else could. And it was something that players wanted. So I discovered that through blogging about my own workouts and stuff. And then I'd say in about 2015 is when I decided that I probably only had a few years left of playing really high level. I mean, I was 35. At that time, I didn't envision myself laying out all over the place at the age of 42. So I was like, what do I want to do with my last years of really, good level of physical ability, can still play. But what did I want to do with my last years of good ultimate? And I think what I realized is that as rewarding as like chasing elite level ultimate is, it is very rewarding. But it is also just, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of mental fortitude, takes a lot of time and effort, and then the results are always unsure, which is fine. But I think I just kind of wanted to shift. I wanted to enjoy really fully the last healthy years of my career, no matter how long that was. I knew that was unsure as well. And for me, I think what gave me enjoyment is coaching, sharing with others, and traveling. So I wanted to play in fun tournaments, and I wanted to play internationally as much as I could. So I really decided to explore international ultimate at that point. And then since then, I've been to I think I played in 34 different countries, most of Western Europe, Colombia, and Egypt and Morocco, and a few countries in Southeast Asia. As well as Korea.
Nice.
Yeah.
You actually spoke less than Arthur usually does. So he takes more time to explain something. He has like a question in his mind, but he keeps going around and around, and I like to make jokes at him for that. But you mentioned some things that are very interesting, and it's something that I usually talk about here in Brazil very often to people that I get to talk to, is that athletes are not necessarily healthy people. Yes, you get the glory, you get the fame, you get the medals, but it's not actually sustainable for the long run. So if you want to do something like you did, to develop other players or to just develop your own personal abilities and skills, you have to do it with a long-term thinking in mind. Otherwise, you're just going to get injured and bad things will happen to your body. So developing this program, developing all those things is very nice. First for yourself, and then for other people, and I wish that more people from the physical activity realm would have this courage and the guts to develop the projects that you have developed. And
Thank you.
I think,
Appreciate it.
yeah, I think Arthur has the next question now.
Yeah, like 4 years, maybe 5 years ago, I was talking with a friend of mine here, and he's a physical educator, and I was kind of trying to understand if it was possible, like, to survive, to live from ultimate frisbee in Brazil. So I also had this question, like, in my mind: do you live entirely out of ultimate, like your business and model? Do you have all your incomes, or can you live from ultimate?
Yeah, I can and I do, and I have since since I think about 2013. Yeah, 2013 is when I left all my other jobs. Yeah, that was tough. To be honest, I left my other sources of income probably a bit too, not probably, I left my other sources of income too early, and was not really financially stable for a bit. And I would say 2015 is really when I felt very stable, very comfortable, dug out of credit card debt, and ready to really go. So I mean, that was another factor, honestly, in my deciding to really pursue traveling and doing international ultimate, is because I felt like I had the systems in place and I had the income steady enough to where I knew that I could sustain it, while traveling. And to be clear, it's not like I'm traveling and meandering all the time. Like, there's been many times when I'll spend a few months in one place and just be working. And the lifestyle is interesting because it is difficult. Sometimes I'll visit a place for 2 weeks, but it's like not like I'm on 2 weeks of vacation. I still have work to do. So that's always kind of interesting, trying to balance that, especially if I'm being hosted by other folks. There's always a trying to balance being social, doing all the Frisbee stuff, seeing touristy stuff, and then also trying to just sustain the normal operations. But I'm very lucky that I've always had good help with like some virtual contractors and stuff that will do customer support and other stuff. So I've always had that in place as well, and that's really been the secret, is that I'm not doing this all by myself.
I see. So trying to do a bit of all, it's one of the difficulties of this business. Do you have any other difficulties, like how this business can happen? What are some difficulties you have to keep it going today?
Well, the landscape's always changing in terms of, I mean, business in some ways is simple, but not easy. You have to be able to find customers, give them something they want to buy, and then make sure you deliver on what you promised. So that's basically it. That's basically all business is. But there's three parts. Change. So, we used to deliver our first version of the Ultimate Athlete Project was delivered in a membership site. It still is. But, it was, as you can imagine, a website designed in 2011 or whatever was not very nice. So you always have to upgrade. We've upgraded the videos probably 3 times since the original versions. And we've created an app because we see that that's really going to be the future of how people want to access most things. So that was a big decision, because that was not a cheap decision and not an easy decision. So I'd say that's a big thing, like the delivery side. From the finding customer side, you're always looking at different ways with an online business. There's always going to be different tactics and strategies of how you reach new customers. And it's kind of interesting, because I was talking to one of our customers the other day, and he was just commenting on all these videos I'd made in like 2010. And I wrote a lot of, I was writing a lot, and basically before the business was steady, I was building an audience and writing a lot of stuff. And honestly, some of my best writing and best videos were created in those early years. And it just kind of made me think, like, oh yeah, it would be nice to have some time for just pure content creation. But yeah, like those different strategies work differently now than they did 10 years ago. So yeah, I mean, there's always going to be challenges of figuring out, how do you find new people? How do you reach new audiences? Do you focus on reaching new players versus improving your current offerings? Do you provide a new offering, or do you continue to iterate on the one you have? And these are all choices that you have to make. And I'd say like one of the things that's evolved since the beginning of the Ultimate Athlete project is, I felt really good about what we created. I mean, I do feel good about what we created. It really solved the problem, this complex problem of how do you design a program for people who have got varying time commitments, varying levels of training age. That's not a simple problem. And how do you figure out how you're going to do this for like a year-long program that can be repeated and still get results? But we did solve that problem. And that was really good. And then now I feel like I am very interested in, I'm always interested in solving the new hard problems. And for me, I think what we've been working on over the past couple of years is a bit more focus on the athlete holistically. So I noticed that, some of my customers will get excellent improvements in their athleticism. And for some of them, this is enough to get on the teams they're trying out for, to get the results they want. For many of my customers, like, that's what they needed. But for some of my customers, like maybe that's not enough. Or maybe it's just not the complete picture. Like, they're never going to get on a national team unless they understand like the strategy and skills that they need. And if they don't have access to coaching, because maybe they don't live in a region that has high-level coaching, how are they going to get that stuff? So, and I'm also realizing, I think a lot about like, I told you, I was a practice player on Scandal, but I didn't make the team. And then around the age of 34, I was like, well, no one's going to pick me on my potential anymore. Like, this is it. I mean, so when I think about like what would have made the difference for me to actually make one of those teams and actually truly fulfill my potential. And I think one of the things that was missing for me personally was that I did not consistently do the mental work required. And so I see that, and I still feel that pain of lost potential, because I could have been, I think I could have done more in my career. And so basically I take that pain of lost potential, and then I just want to see if I can help others. And one thing that's helped me is I was reading, I think it was like Malcolm Gladwell's book. It was the one with like the 10,000 hour rule and all that stuff. But one of the things in that book was about how some of the best teachers are the ones who sort of got to the edge of their full potential, but not quite. And then they sort of spend the rest of their career trying to figure out what was missing. And I think that very accurately describes sort of where I'm at, is that I do have this focus on performance. It was always a bit selfish because I wanted it for myself, and I didn't quite get there. But now I just want to fully understand it, because it's a puzzle that plagued me. And then I want to show that I understand it by providing all the pieces of the puzzles to other players. And so I think like the culmination of these sort of efforts right now are happening in our UAP Premium offering, which combines the strength and fitness stuff with the skills work, also with game IQ stuff, and then like extra one-on-one coaching. So yeah, that's sort of how we've evolved. It's sort of how we got started and how we've evolved sort of some of our offerings, and also how that tracks with how I as a person have and am evolving.
Yeah, this mental health is, I think it's overlooked in all sports, maybe with a few exceptions depending on the culture or the country that we're talking about, but people are not used to doing that. And I can see that this is important and people are doing. And again, I'm glad that you are thinking about this and using it in your programs.
Yeah, I mean, I used to tell players about strength training, like that was, so many players are not doing proper strength training or proper training. So if you do it, you almost have an unfair advantage. And that's truly how it was for me when I was, 33, 34. I was definitely outmatching athletically. Obviously there's a few exceptions, but like I was very much outmatching people that I shouldn't have been outmatching based on like just age and height and other things. It's like if you put any effort, or if you put any smart effort, like you should be, I should not be like being able to hang with the players I'm hanging with. So I felt like it was like, well, so that was like in some ways a secret weapon, but it wasn't a secret. It's just basic science. And then and now I feel like the secret weapon is the mental strength training. And then I think the other secret weapon is I think that would be the primary one if I had to prioritize. And then the second one I think people are missing is I talked about this difference between elite level players and then the level right below is about just like the focus on detail when it comes to the fundamentals. I think that's a separating factor. And whether that's something that can be taught or whether a player needs to sort of have the drive and discipline to do that first. Like, I'm not sure if that's something that I can totally give to a player, but I can at least try to show them the difference, or show them that if they want to be an elite level player, they have to start thinking like one, and that means they have to start paying attention to some of the stuff that might seem boring.
I, for example, like discovered that in the hard way. I was trying for some years to teach everybody a lot of stuff, a lot of strategies and stuff, and then I realized it. I think it was through a Mary O'Brien course. I don't know. Like this phrase, like not outplay, just outsmart. So play smart, do more intelligent stuff on the field, so you don't have to focus only on condition, on strength, and depend on that. Like that's your resource to be an elite player. You need also to have the other side, the smart cut, the smart way of this understanding of the game. And then for some years now, I'm trying to, in my team, ultimate players, to make people think like that. Like, you don't always have to be the strongest, the tallest, the blah blah blah. You always have to be smart. You always have to feel the field and see where the disc wants to go, where you can change momentum of the game. I always try to focus more on thinking and make them think in a flow, in a smart way during the game. More focusing like how do you see the game? What are the my drills are not more focused on strength, power, cuts, and throws. I try to develop drills that make people think, make people choose, and then I have 7 years now. I have 7 years of experience, so I try to bring to the table like, look, I've seen these, I know these. So if you do that one, it's a better choice, it's a better decision than throw this outside, throw the inside, and stuff like that. So I can, like you said, like the best teachers push the edge and then teach the others. So I try to give them what I have, the content in my head, so they can be better players, like in mental way and then in the game wise, not just condition and then strength.
Yeah, and we can definitely see that this mental aspect it's a struggle, because you know that you want to teach, you know it's important, but people don't actually want to do that. And it's interesting that you said that you weren't able to actually have this turning point of your career of living out of Ultimate entirely. And I believe that another struggle that you have, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that there was no market for what you were doing. Maybe you and Tim Morrill were kind of the first people that did that started. You started with specifically the physical aspects, and now you're moving towards other stuff. But out of all the projects, all of the products that you developed that are basically online, is there one that you hold most dear? Is there like one specific project that, well, this is the one that I enjoy the most?
That's a tough question. So what you're saying is correct. When I started the Ultimate Athlete Project, there was no market, and when I started, there was so little online. It was kind of after the glory days of the huddle, the first round of the huddle, and then at that time, this was before Skyd magazine. I think they literally started maybe 6 months after I decided I was starting a blog. There was a few random players with blogs. This was before Ultra World. I'm pretty sure this was before Rise Up. So there was really an internet wasteland when it came to Ultimate content. So yeah, we did have to, and I met Tim just because I was blogging, and again, there weren't that many people doing that. So yeah, we really did want to shift the conversation about training for ultimate, helping people take it more seriously, in some ways just giving players permission to be like, you want to be an athlete, like that's fine. Like ultimate's an amateur sport, so what? There's a lot of amateur sports. It doesn't mean you can't take yourself seriously. And if you want to take yourself seriously, here are the tools to do it. So in some ways, just giving people permission to take themselves seriously as athletes, and then helping them understand what that really meant, because ultimate still does draw a lot of players that are maybe repelled by other traditional sports. So yeah, that process was challenging and rewarding. And in some ways, I feel like that I'm going through this. We're going to be going through the same process again, because I originally did want to focus more on skills and things. I'm a handler, and I know about motor skills learning, so part of me wanted to teach people how to throw better. But there was more of like the strength and conditioning sort of capitalized on what people were already doing. Like people were seeking out more information about how to do this. So that was the thing that worked out first, and that's fine. I think what I'm doing now, though, is I want people to realize that they should focus on maybe what is going to bring them the most advancement in the shortest amount of time. I mean, that was always our strategy with the strength and conditioning too. It's like if you only have 3 hours in a week, make sure you're using it efficiently. Make sure you're always training efficiently. And so I think we're just going to apply the same principle to things like skills work, mental toughness training. Like, where are you as an athlete and a person, and what is the thing that's really going to make the biggest difference for you? Helping players identify that for themselves is really rewarding, and that's what we do through our premium thing, our premium offer. But I think we're also sort of working on making those concepts available to the masses through our skills membership, our game IQ coaching and game IQ membership. And those offers are not as popular right now, but I think those offers are where like that's where that's again like where the secret sauce is, I think, for a lot of players who are maybe plateauing. And it's like, okay, once you've got the sort of basics, athleticism, is working on that more going to actually get you more, or is it going back to thinking about your skills, thinking about your game IQ? So I'd say there's kind of not really a market for sort of game IQ stuff and skills stuff yet, but I like to think that, well, there wasn't a market for the strength and conditioning stuff either. So I think now our mission is to help players realize the importance of mental strength training, skills training, and that they can take control and do this outside of practice by themselves, or just like with a friend or a group of friends, and they can really get a lot of improvement out of just a few hours a month of concerted effort. So yeah, I think the challenge now is just really educating the market and making them realize like they can do better, and if they do just spend 4 or 5 hours a month, they are going to get ahead of their peers, and it's going to also elevate the sport of ultimate. I always think about us as elevating the sport of ultimate one athlete at a time. So yeah, that's sort of the next step for us, I think. But you asked what was my favorite. I think I don't have a product that's a favorite. I think it's the process. The process is the favorite. The process that's my favorite is taking complex stuff and simplifying it and making it practical. That's always been where the Ultimate Athlete Project wins, because we are relentlessly solution-oriented and relentlessly practical. We want to make sure that people can use our products easily and get the biggest change of result in the smallest amount of time. These are the things that are important to us and the things that we're good at. So that's my favorite when it comes to processing problems.
Yeah, sure. I agree with you. And I actually think that the physical training is out there. People will find ways to get stronger, to get faster and anything. But this mental aspect, the game IQ, psychological things, I feel that, to use the same word that you used, that's where the secret sauce is. And I think it's amazing that this process, that's what changed from the beginning to now. Again, I applaud you for doing that. I think it's very difficult. I actually don't have the time, or didn't find the time yet to start working on that thing. But like doing the IQ, the coaching game IQ certification on your website was a big thing for us. I think me and Artur are the only Brazilians that did that.
Yeah, so why don't you tell me, like, what was the most important thing that you think you got from that process of doing the certification?
You want to start, Artur?
No, you were saying like how you can take something complicated and try to simplify it. And for me, that's always the feeling. That's always what I get from your emails, from your videos, from your courses. And for that program in general, I always had this feeling like you try to take something that is complicated, that requires experience, playing time, and try to simplify it so people could understand it, and then bring it to the field. While you were talking, I was thinking about, for example, Felix. He's doing tons of video analysis, and I think that these videos help you understand and maybe achieve some game IQ. You try to take it smart, you think smarter and play smarter, but I don't know if it brings to the field. Like, I don't think people go to the field, to the playing game, and then they bring what they saw in a video. I think they need something like you did, like some tests, some assessments, some images, some talks like the Ben Wiggins. I think it's one of the most famous ones. Like when he's talking about how to break a O zone and D zone, like how you can break in the offense and the defense. So that kind of stuff, when you develop a knowledge and try to simplify it and bring it in a cool, easy way, I think it's one of the greatest achievements. So for me, I knew the content, but I like it how simplified it was and how it can spark something on me to look, to try to look for more stuff or try to read more stuff so I can apply it to my team as a coach, a captain. But I always think like how one person can do this self motivation, how one player, not a coach or captain, how he can like do this course and bring it to his game, not the team. But that's what I felt from the certification process.
Yeah, for me, the answer is pretty similar. I think that with the physical education background like yourself, some of the things I already knew, but the most important thing for me was to help me organize the ideas. And okay, if I'm going to be a coach, this is the blueprint that I can follow and establish a plan on how to develop and how to organize the season and all the things. I think it was very important for me to, okay, make it easy, like he was saying, just tone it down. And if I'm going to coach any team right now, I know the blueprint. I can always go check on that. Okay, I have many different ideas. I have the experiences. We watch video, we know, but wait, how can we just organize everything to a short plan and make it work? Otherwise, it's just a bunch of ideas with no connection between them. I think that was very good. And going on to a next question, we were talking about your reach in the US and outside of the US. Would you say that you have more impact, or where would you say you have more impact, in the US or other countries?
Well, the fact is that the United States has the highest population of players. Well, I say that at least in when it comes to like, I'm actually kind of wondering if Canada would have more when it comes to league players. But anyway, well, I would say that our biggest impact is still in the U.S. just because that's where the most players are, and our products are all in English at the moment. So yeah, I mean that's something that we would like to adapt to become more multilingual as far as our offerings are concerned. But yeah, our biggest impact is still in the U.S. That's where a lot of the players are, and that's where there is a very clear, I'll say pipeline for lack of a better word. There's a very clear ladder of, there's sectionals level teams, there's regionals level teams, and there's nationals sort of level teams, or there's different sort of tiers rather. I guess those are not the same names that we're using now, but there's different tiers. And so you very clearly know like what tier you're on, and kind of like what kind of team you want to be, if your team's going to try to move up the next level, or if you are, as a player, trying to move up to a team at the next level. Like that's it. So it's very clear. Like players sort of know where they're at and where they're trying to go. And I think that's in some ways unique. I think also in the U.S. there's like a lot of we still, I'd say most of our play, unlike Canada, is focused on this kind of like tournament style play where you are trying to get to these different tiers. And then so there's very clear things to aim for. It's not only one thing. Like so I think that the way it is in some countries, it's like you're either on the national team or you're on your local team, and that's it. Whereas in the U.S., like within a big city, there are these tiers of teams, and in the U.S., it's not uncommon to switch teams and to try to make it onto better teams, because we are more seasonal. There's always this reshuffling of players, and the culture is such that nobody really thinks that's a bad thing. In a lot of countries I've visited, it's viewed as almost like disloyalty if you switch teams, or your team is your family, and that's like your social group. And if you leave that team, then you're jeopardizing your social group. Whereas in the United States, it's just not the same. It's like, yeah, that's going to be a little bit true, but nobody's viewing you as a traitor if you leave your team to try to play for a higher level team, because that's just fine. That's the way it is. People are allowed to go and look for the teams that are the best fit for them. So in that environment, this idea of ultimate performance, where most of our customers are individuals just seeking to improve their own performance, makes a lot of sense. So yeah, but we do have customers all over the world. We have customers in every country that I've been to, so and in a lot of countries that I haven't been to. So yeah, I don't know. That's a hard question, because I don't even know how I would measure impact.
Let me put an example. Like when I wrote this question, I believe I wrote it. I don't know if it was me or Mayelo, but this awesome question that I wrote. Like when I was trying to say about the rest of the world, other countries, it was more like you said, USA has tiers, is very well organized. Ultimate happens in tons of levels, elite, amateur, pickup. But when you go to a country that, for example, let's say there is only 2-3 players, so the impact, if in this country, if you raise them to 20, 30, maybe it's bigger because you started and developed Ultimate in a country. So looking in this way, do you think like you've been to countries that you either started a community or you improved the community, or maybe there was a community but not like very well developed, no association, no tournaments and stuff, or they had only the basics of basics from basics, within basics from basics of Ultimate, and then you raise them, open their mind like to know more strategies, to know more about conditioning, in this direction.
That's a good question. So that's the other angle of looking at it. So it is true, like for a player that's already in Seattle, like I have certainly many customers and fans from Seattle, but in some ways, like they're not the ones that need me most. Like the ones that need me most are, or our company the most, would be, like, I mean, even in the US, there's players in the middle of nowhere that maybe they're the only team in the region, or basically like players and teams and communities that are more isolated for whatever reason. So don't have access to higher level coaching or exposure to higher level play. Like, yeah, we probably do have a bigger impact in those kind of, as far as like the ability to help people start where they're at and improve. Yeah, I often have those players in mind, especially when we created our skills membership, because we were taking stuff that elite players are doing and breaking it down into to drills and stuff that anyone can do by themselves or with a partner. That really has the potential to help a lot of players if they're willing. When I think about, I mean, some of this is hard for me to measure because I do get emails from all over the world, but it is also, there's a lot going on that I don't get to see. So I have no idea like how much people are using our stuff and where. There's a lot I don't see. But of the stuff that I do see, like when I travel, this is one of the reasons I love traveling and visiting Ultimate communities, is because I think that does help bring it home to me the impact that we are having, and it sort of refreshes my interest in continuing to do better. So sometimes I think that like I've said everything that can be possibly said about ultimate fitness, strength, and conditioning, but then I'll go do like a speed and agility workout somewhere, and then I'll have the opportunity to come in contact with players that still have some misconceptions, or maybe just haven't thought about things, haven't maybe encountered some stuff that I've done on Reddit, or maybe not. And so yeah, it kind of reminds me that even stuff that I've been saying for 10 years still needs to be said, number one. And then the other place that I really see it is when I do have coaches in communities, and then I get to go and visit their teams. That's often a scenario. And that I think is where I really get to see and feel the biggest benefit, because you'll have like a few players that are followers and customers and are actively using stuff in their community, and they've been using it before I arrive, and then I get to see like the results of what they've been doing. And to me, that's where I really see that to me is like the most rewarding experience, because I can see that someone was able to implement it in their community, and I get to see, like when I go and just like do a clinic and teach players, I can tell they're learning, but then I have no idea, what happens after that. I enjoy those experiences, but being able to visit a coach in a community that's been using our concepts already, and then helping them to refine those concepts or add detail, or like coming to a community that already knows like the basics of what we do and who I am, like that's where I feel like I have the biggest impact. And I'd say like situations that happened would be like, going to Southeast Asia and various places, that was the case. Going to Egypt over the past 2 years, that's definitely been the case. And then I imagine I would have that same experience when I come visit you guys eventually, and see how you guys are implementing UAP principles in your community.
Yeah, one thing that for me. Come again?
No, I was just saying that will happen eventually. Melissa will be here in Brazil. She will help us further develop the Brazilian community.
Yeah, so for me, this development in countries that are in the early stages of Ultimate, for example, what I always think and dream about, have nightmares about it, is like what content, what books, what readings do we bring? Like, do you have on 101 like a ABC process? Like, first I introduce these, not a clinic, but do you use some materials that are that helps to engage, and like you said, the course, like you try to simplify it and present people that they can learn and then later on use. Let me example that, like I'm a scout leader, so I'm in the scout movement. So in the scout movement, there is a book that I always exemplify. I always say in the Brazil, it's like 6 months of something. So after 6 months, when you read the book, you know where you want to be, what you want to achieve, what people should know by that time. So I always had this idea with Maelo, for example, to write a book or something that we could that we could send, that we could develop, that we could present to ultimate communities, like how your team, a team in 6 months, a community in 6 months. So this kind of content. And lately, the WFDF, the WIFT, they published a book like this from José Amoroso. I don't know if you've seen it, but I think it's like it's an answer to this question, like how can I present, how can I spread, automate, how people can learn. So for you in the case, like, do you have this ABC? How you do introduce something in a place that you want to achieve a plateau, a level at the end of the time?
That's a really excellent question. I think that what you're pointing to is one of these things that I love, which is taking a complex situation or challenge and then making it simple and practical. So yeah, I mean, you've seen what we've done with the coaching and game IQ certification. That's sort of one sort of first round attempt at least simplifying and putting a container around this ocean of knowledge. But yeah, we want to get a little bit more methodical. And so and for me, when I think about individual players, that's what your premium is about, because we're able to really I've been working one-on-one with players, and I can see patterns in like what players think they need versus what they actually need, by doing this one-on-one work with them. Now, when it comes to communities, my specialty now is, I've coached at all levels. I've coached high school, I've coached high school mixed, high school boys, I've coached club, I've coached college. But now what I do is more like drop into an area, and then maybe I'll be there for a weekend, or maybe I'll be there just for a practice. Some places I'll just run a workout because I want to do a workout, and I'll invite people, and then the only thing is they just have to do what I say. So I think my personal specialty has become coming into an area or a community and figuring out very quickly what I can do in the time that I'm there that's going to have the most lasting impact. And I'm very that's this skill that I've developed kind of brings together all the parts of myself and all of my talents, which are very much about just being adaptable is one of my skills. Prioritizing, so figuring out what do I need to cut out, because I can't cover everything if I'm just there for like practice. How do I focus, prioritize and focus, and then just and then deliver something that's going to make some impact. So that's sort of like what my skill is now. And I think, anyway, that's sort of drifting a bit from your question. But your question is like, how do we systematize, like, where should a community be in 6 months? I think, so mostly I'm dropping into communities that are already there. I don't ever see it as my role as to start Frisbee anywhere. I come into communities that already have it, and then I try to support what's already there. What I do think that we could do better at the Ultimate Athlete Project is helping those communities to connect with each other more. And we do try to do that through our coaching game IQ classroom. We've got a lot of presentations from people who are developing Ultimate in their own countries or their own communities. And I think what's cool about that is people can share their particular story in their particular region, and then people from other regions can sort of figure out, well, what of what they said is going to make sense for me in my region and what's not, because I think that's really key. Because even if I came up with some plan of like, okay, in 3 months you should be here, in 6 months you should be there, and how to do it, I do sort of wonder, like, would that make sense for all places at all times? Probably not. I think there is a lot of like cultural context and a lot of like how, like, depends on how often this team is practicing. What are the other factors? Like, are these people that are athletes already and they're just coming from other sports, or are they non-athletes? There's a lot of factors. But again, this is one of these complex problems that I like to work on and simplify. So the short answer is I don't have what you're asking for now, but I think that it's something that we're always looking at, like, systematizing and simplifying. So maybe ask again in a year or two.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think we're actually running a little bit short on time, which is a pity because the conversation has been going so great. It's amazing to listen to everything that you have to say, but I think that I would like to say something before we kind of part ways. I think that what makes you different and somehow more relevant than other people working in the strength and conditioning markets is exactly this human aspect, this human part, mental health, and looking at the athlete holistically. I think that raising discussions that go beyond ultimates is also important to develop as players. So I think that is exactly what it has been boiling around, specifically in the US, but in other countries as well. And I think that is exactly what makes you be ahead of others. So congratulations on that. We will continue to follow you because I personally think that you are amazing. I have seen others, but it just doesn't resonate with me as much as it does with you. We've been wanting to call you and do something with you for a while now, and it was amazing that you actually had the time to do it with us today. I don't know if you want to say something to close it, to finish things up, or maybe ask people, or we can actually ask people to follow you in your social media, your platforms, and to go into the IQ certificate because it's an awesome platform. But I would like to thank you, and if you have anything else to say, please do. You're amazing. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank you all as well. Thank you for inviting me onto your podcast. This has been really enjoyable. I mean, so for me, one of the most rewarding things is just this global community and just feeling like I get to have a window into so many different parts of the world and to so many different communities. So I just appreciate that. I appreciate you showing up. I appreciate you showing up for your community as well. I think I've just been seeing in so many parts of the world how it just takes a few really dedicated folks working consistently over a long period of time. Like in the short term, it seems like nothing's happening, but then, eventually there's this sort of breakthrough point, and a few dedicated people can have a big impact. So I just want to thank you for your work as well in your community. I get to have a lot of benefits from the work that I do of like traveling around and doing lots of fun stuff. But it's the ones that are, and I like pop into these places for a weekend or two, and everyone's excited to see me, but it's the people that stay there, stay behind, stay on the ground, and are doing the work day in and day out. Y'all might not get as much appreciation because, it's just how it is. But you're really the ones that make the biggest difference, the coaches on the ground in these various places. So thanks for that. I've also appreciated you all showing up for whenever we have virtual events. There's always the contingent from Brazil, and we always look forward to seeing you all there as well, Camilla included. So make sure, just wanted to give her a shout out as well. And yeah, if you all want to find me, ultiresults.com is our URL, and that's probably where you can get all the good stuff.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. So that's it, guys. You are listening Podcatch BR, Portuguese, English today, but Portuguese podcast. So Melissa said in the ending she will learn Portuguese to listen all the 25 episodes that we have. She said that in 2 years to do that. So it's a very good thing for us. But yeah, I'll end this now. Thank you for your time, and yeah.
Thank you.